November 25th, 1970. Yukio Mishima stands upon Ichigaya Barracks, Tokyo. This would be his final speech and the final recorded moments of his life.
花火みたいに生きよう。一瞬のうちに精一杯夜空を彩ってすぐに消えてしまおう。私は三島由紀夫をペンネームとした。
Born Kimitake Hiraoka, Yukio Mishima was Japan's most celebrated author. On his death, he left a body of work consisting of 35 novels, 25 plays, 200 short stories, and 8 volumes of essays. Both his personal life and artistic works were closely followed by the general public. Mishima was an incredibly complex human being, a man who dedicated his life to becoming a work of art. Out of all of his creations, the greatest fiction was himself. Yukio Mishima was a mask, and the world was his stage. Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters is a 1985 film directed by Paul Schrader, who is more famously recognised for writing the screenplays for Raging Bull and Taxi Driver. Whilst his work on those films are iconic, Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters is Schrader's magnum opus, himself admitting it is his greatest work as a director. The film not only cements Schrader as one of Hollywood's greatest ever writers, but also as a cinematic visionary. It is a marvel that the film even exists. An American director making a film with an almost all-Japanese cast in Japan. Schrader didn't speak Japanese, so you can only imagine the difficulties he faced. On top of this, Mishima is such a controversial topic. The film was and still is banned in Japan. Mishima's wife wasn't happy with his portrayal in the film, especially the implied homosexual elements and the focus on the events of his final day. Japan's far right expressed similar issues with Mishima's portrayal. Some of the producers and people involved in the film feared for their safety due to potential violence from the far right. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and despite all the controversy, Schrader persevered, collaborating with John Bailey for cinematography and the relative unknowns Aiko Ishoka for production design and Philip Glass as composer. The score for Mishima would later go on to be reused famously in The Truman Show. With these key collaborators, the film became otherworldly, a biopic like no other.
どっかで書いていたように記憶しますが、今現代の死は病気にしろ、あるいは交通事故にしろ、何らのドラマがない、英雄的な死というものもない時代に我々生きております。
The film is split into 4 chapters titled Beauty, Art, Action, and the Harmony of Pen and Sword. Interwoven in each chapter is reality, memory, and imagination. Reality is in full colour and takes place on his final day, the 25th of November 1970. Memory is told in black and white and shows events that occurred throughout Mishima's life. Imagination brings his novels to life, once again in full colour, but the sets here are spectacular and completely surreal. Kimitake was an alienated child who cared for his sick grandmother. He looked out upon a world he was forever detached from, one he sought to change with his words. Early on, he was ambushed by a book containing the picture of Saint Sebastian, an image that would come to define an obsession with art, beauty, and an eroticism of death. Playing alongside his childhood are the events of the Temple of the Golden Pavilion. The main colours within this world are gold and green. We follow Mizoguchi, an acolyte who struggles to connect with others due to his stutter. Mizoguchi is so overwhelmed by the beauty of the Golden Pavilion that it debilitates him. Beauty becomes his enemy, and the pavilion must be destroyed. He hopes it will be bombed by enemy forces during the events of the war. Unfortunately, this does not happen, and the war comes to an end, both in the novel and within Kimitake's life. As Mizoguchi heads to a brothel, there is an overwhelming void which fills the world. Kimitake never foresaw a world beyond the war. He desired death in service of his emperor. He wished to share the same fate as all of his friends. But at the same time, he also purposely exaggerated an illness in order to be deemed unfit for military service. A complete contradiction. This decision would come to be one of his greatest regrets. Kimitake Hiraoka died in the war, and Yukio Mishima was born.
しかし今の我々は死を描きながら生きているのかどうか、それさえ疑問であります。私の死との一番親しかった時代は戦争中で、戦争が済んだ時20歳だったので、10代の私どもは、いつ死ぬか、いつどうやって死ぬかということだけしか頭の中にない、そういう中で20代まで行ったのでありますが、それを考えますと、今の青年にはそれはスリルを求めることもありましょう。あるいはいつ死ぬかという恐怖もないではないでしょうが、死が生の前提になっているという緊張した状態にはない。
The war had ended. A man whose main formative years were in the midst of war now had to live in a world of peace. If death was a prerequisite of life, where did that leave Yukio Mishima? It left him looking for a purpose, a reason to keep on living. He channeled all of his energy into his art to try to understand. He allowed his unconscious dreams to spill into his work. Chapter 2, titled Art, shows the story of Kyoko's house. The main colours now are pink and grey. An actor named Azumu wishes to become more muscular. Once again, art imitates life for Mishima. He is inseparable from his words. His personal traits are sewn into his characters. As the novel unfolds, so does the dramatic physical transformation of Mishima. Words had separated him from his body, but creating a beautiful work of art and becoming beautiful oneself are identical.
生きた芸術作品ができたとしますね。しかしそれが追いさらばえることはどうするんですか。その美しさはどうなるわけ。作ったあなたがどうにかしなきゃならないんだから。
The decay of the body, a thought Mishima found repulsive. The gradual destruction of beauty. How does one preserve themselves? The idea was becoming increasingly clear to Mishima. Art is a shadow, and stage blood is not enough.
そういうことで、仕事をやっていますときに、なんか生の倦怠といいますか、ただ人間が自分のために生きようということだけには卑しいものを感じてくるのは当然だと思うのであります。それで、人間の生命というものは不思議なもんで、自分のためだけに生きて自分のためだけに死ぬというほど人間は強くないんです。というのは人間は何か理想なり、何かのためということを考えてるんで、生きるのも自分のためだけに生きることにはすぐ飽きてしまう。
Here lies the tragedy of Mishima. He could not find a reason to live. He tried to adapt to a peaceful society, but he could not. His experiences early in life paved the way for everything thereafter. He was forever alienated. He longed to find his purpose, his own happiness. As he could not find a purpose, he decided to create one. The final novel told in the film is Runaway Horses. The main colours here are the colours black, white and shoe. The story follows Isao, an instigator of a plot to destroy capitalism in Japan and reinstate the emperor. At the same time, Mishima is assembling his Shield Society, or the Tatenokai, a private militia dedicated to traditional Japanese values and veneration of the emperor, the action to combine with his art. With some of the most visually stunning scenes in the whole film, Isao and his group make vows to go ahead with their plan and then commit seppuku after it is done. Even though they knew it wouldn't be successful, they choose to go ahead with it anyway. Perfect purity is possible if you turn your life into a line of poetry written with a splash of blood.
すると死ぬのも何かのためということが必ず出てくる。それが昔言われた大義というものです。そして大義のために死ぬということが人間の最も華々しい、あるいは英雄的な、あるいは立派な死に方だというふうに考えられている。しかし今は大義がない。 これは民主主義の政治形態というものは大義なんてものいらない政治形態ですから当然なんですが、それでも心の中に自分を超える価値が認められなければ、生きていることすら無意味になるというような心理状態がないわけではない。ことに私自分に、帰って考えてみますと、死を、いつか来るんだと、それも決して遠くない将来に来るんだというふうに考えていた時の心理状態は今に比べて幸福だったんです。それは実に不思議なことですが、記憶の中で美しく見えるだけでなく、人間はそういう時に妙に幸福になる。
The harmony of pen and sword, the motto of the samurai. November 25th, 1970 was a date that Mishima had planned for a long time. The absolute embodiment of his art, beauty, and action. With no purpose, his decaying body, and the belief he had nothing left to write, it was the end of his road. Words were no longer enough. He found his clarity amongst the stillness of the sky, the beauty of it all. As the frame changes from black and white to colour, everything has been leading to this moment. Mishima and 4 cadets from his private army enter the Eastern Army headquarters and forcibly detain the commander and address the garrison. He is booed and berated, his voice is not heard. The army, modern Japan's closest body to the samurai, had turned against Mishima, Japan's last true samurai. As Isao failed, so did Mishima. He steps off the ledge and salutes the emperor. Returning inside, he undresses before committing seppuku. Isolation, introspection, and self-destruction. Mishima was the perfect fit for Schrader given his history. But even Schrader's brilliance could not have conceived the story of Yukio Mishima. It is a truly unbelievable story that was handled with such care and with no inclination towards sensationalism. Mishima remains a topic that few dare to discuss, and of course his actions at the Ichigaya barracks cannot be condoned. However, I still think he is one of the most interesting people to ever be born. A man who truly understood beauty like no one else. He is my favourite author, and his work is something I will continue to explore. A one-of-a-kind man and a one-of-a-kind film. Cinema's greatest biopic.